Oh, hi! Come on in. I was about to read this book called The Muddy Princess. Want to read it with me? All right. The Muddy Princess. Oh, why must we keep these ugly old books in the royal library anyway, complained Mr. Superficial. Surely a book that looks so bad on the outside can't be of any real value on the inside. He continued as he picked up a large old book from the table and was about to throw it into the fire. Just a moment, Mr. Fischel, ordered the king. I certainly hope you are not about to throw that very important book into the fire. Very important book, Your Majesty, Mr. Fischel asked. What, this old thing? Absolutely. Please open it and read what it says on the very first page, asked the king. This book is the official record of all the important rules and laws of the kingdom, read Mr. Fischel. Oh my, this is a very important book indeed. But how was I supposed to know? I mean, it has such an ugly cover, he explained. Always remember, Mr. Fischel, you should never judge a book by its cover. Something may look one way on the outside, but be very different on the inside, said the king. Oh, I will never forget that, Your Highness. Thank you for teaching me such an important lesson, Mr. Fischel replied. You're welcome, said the king, but we shall see if you have truly learned this lesson or not. After a long time had passed, the good king called Mr. Fischel into his royal throne room. My dear Mr. Fischel, the king began, I am sending you on a very important but very difficult assignment. My son needs to be married, and I want you to travel throughout my entire kingdom and find the most beautiful girl in all the land to be his wife, the king said. Your Highness, that will actually be a very easy assignment. For you see, beauty is a very easy thing for me to judge. I will surely be back in no more than 10 days with the most beautiful bride for your son, the prince, Mr. Superficial boasted proudly. We shall see, Mr. Fischel, we shall see, the king responded. After searching the kingdom for 10 days in the royal coach, Mr. Fischel had looked in city after city and village after village for the most beautiful girl in all the land. But there were none that he thought was pretty enough to take back to the royal castle and marry to the prince. As the 11th day began with a heavy rain, Mr. Fischel was about to give up his search when he saw a magnificent house with a long walkway that led to a very big front door. He directed the coachman to stop immediately. Perhaps there, in that impressive house, he thought to himself, I will find the most beautiful girl in all the land. Mr. Fischel got out of the coach, walked down the long walkway, and knocked on the impressive door. When the butler answered, Mr. Fischel explained that he was on a royal mission from the king to find the most beautiful girl in all the land to marry the prince. Just then, at the top of the long stairway appeared a girl that was so pretty, Mr. Superficial could hardly say a word. Her dress was many different shades of pink. Her hair was light brown and curly. Everything about her was beautiful. As she walked down the steps, Mr. Fischel was positive that she surely had to be the most beautiful girl in all the land. The girl and her parents agreed she would go with Mr. Fischel back to the castle to marry the prince. On their way down the long walkway back to the coach, Mr. Fischel said, Here, please take my jacket to keep you warm. After he placed his dark green jacket over her shoulders, he expected to hear a pleasant thank you. But what he heard instead was, Well, I don't like this jacket. It's much too big and much too heavy, and besides, green does not match my beautiful pink dress at all. Well, the girl cried and cried. I am sorry, Mr. Fischel responded in shock. It is all I have to offer you. As they continued down the walkway, they stepped into a puddle of mud. Wow, the girl replied again, my pretty shoes are all muddy now. I'm sorry, Mr. Fischel replied. Here, please use my boots to keep your pretty shoes clean. I will continue on in my socks. Mr. Fischel stepped into the coach and turned around to help her in. But she cried out again, Wah! What is it now? Mr. Fischel asked. I'm the beautiful lady. I should have gotten into the coach first. She cried and she cried and she cried. As she was crying, Mr. Superficial remembered the important old book in the Royal Library long ago that he had judged only by its outward appearance. He had almost forgotten the valuable lesson he had learned that day. He realized he was judging her based only on her outward appearance, but she was not very beautiful at all on the inside. "You are correct, my dear," he told her as her loud cries quieted into soft pouting. "I do apologize for stepping into the coach first. But I'm afraid you will not be stepping into the royal coach at all," Mr. Fischel said sadly. The girl looked puzzled. "But I can't possibly walk all the way to the castle in these boots, can I?" she asked as she held up her pink dress, trying to keep it out of the mud. Mr. Fischel explained, "You see, my dear, I was told to return to the castle with the most beautiful girl in all the land, and I fear I must continue my journey. I have just realized that real beauty is indeed rare and very hard to find. To find it, one must look much deeper than the skin of a person or the cover of a book." Mr. Fischel continued, "What is important is the beauty, honesty, love, and character that lies deep within a person. You surely are pretty, but I am afraid your selfishness, crying, and complaining is keeping you from possessing real beauty." "I am sorry, my dear," Mr. Fischel said gently. With that, he wished her a good day, closed the door, and asked the coachman to drive on. As the coach pulled slowly away, the girl stood there silently. No crying, no tears, no complaining, not even a whimper. She was not upset. She was thankful, deeply thankful for Mr. Fischel's gentle and honest words. She realized she was indeed selfish. She complained far too much, and she always cried whenever things did not go her way. She stood there in the mud and thought about it all. And then she began to run. She desperately ran after the coach as fast as she could in Mr. Fischel's big, heavy boots. She didn't care how much mud splashed up all over her beautiful pink dress. She had to catch that coach. Looking back, Mr. Fischel saw her and ordered the coachman to stop once again. Tired, panting, and muddy from tip to toe, the girl stood at the open door of the coach. "Dear sir, I realize that what you said was right. It was very right. What makes a person really beautiful is not their outward appearance, but being a proper, honest, honorable, and caring person within. So I just wanted to say thank you very much." Then she slowly turned and began to walk humbly back home. Stunned and surprised, but very happy, Mr. Fischel stepped out of the coach with his already muddy socks and called out to her, "Wait just a minute, my dear. Didn't I tell you that I was commanded by the king himself to bring back to the castle the most beautiful girl in all the land?" The girl turned quickly around. "So unless you come back with me to marry the prince," Mr. Fischel continued, "I'm afraid I will fail in my mission. There can now be no doubt whatsoever that standing before me covered in mud, in big sloppy boots and an ugly green coat that does not match her pink dress at all, is a girl that would surely be the most beautiful princess in all the land." The king, the queen, the prince, and the whole kingdom agreed. Great ending to that story, huh? She really learned her lesson. And then she really was the most beautiful princess in the land. Well, it was great to see you again, and I'll see you next time on TinyGrads.com, okay?